end of December, so we've tried to get volunteers for the board, and that's just not gone according to, well, it's gone according to plan. We haven't had any volunteers. So we're going to run a few things by you on that. But we do want to start off with making sure that you sign in, and then look at the minutes from last time, and if you approve those, we will. Everybody have a chance to look down?
Oh.
Richard, you're just running on the
Vendors at 6 o'clock.
Oh, I see one thing that I left off here, and that's the financial report. So you all can look at that too. We just started. Do we need some more chairs?
It's probably looking to order.
Yeah. Oh.
There's 2 chairs.
Do you need more back there too? So we had some more. I'm Terry Harriet, for those of you that don't know me, and I live over on Tower, over here on this side. And I've lived here 21 years, almost 22, and I've been a part of the board directly, kind of indirectly for a long time, but directly, I think 2016. So I was vice president very happily for all that time, and Michael Rapp was our president. He and his wife moved out of our neighborhood, so it left us with kind of some board situations. So on the finance report,
I apologize. I didn't catch your name.
Terry Harriet.
Thank you.
This is a real thick mask, and I didn't mean to grab this thick blanket, so it's kind of. On the finance report, which I did leave off the top of this, you guys can take a peek at it. At the top of it, where it talks about dues and late dues, I kind of compared this month to a year ago. And this year, at this time, we have 44 houses with dues owed. Last year, we had 62. So we're a little better. And we also have, there's about $4,000 or $5,000 difference that we're to the good now, too. There are 14 houses that pay 50%, which, you can pay 125 and then pay 125 later. And so that's down from a year ago as well. One of the things that the board talked about the other day when we had a meeting is we have 3 houses that owe over $1,000. One of those houses will be taken care of when it is closed. It's up for sale right now, and when it closes. So that's a major hump and that will be paid back to the HOA. The other two are slightly over 1,000. In the past, we have put liens on those properties. So I have not had time to check with the county assessor's office and see if those properties are two that we have put liens on or not. If we have not put liens on them before, the board is going to go and talk to those people before, those homeowners. Because one of the things about this community is ours. You know, we all live together, and things happen to people. So we don't want to just put liens on people's property if things are going on. We really prefer that, you know, we come up with kind of a workable solution. So those two houses in particular, we will meet with those homeowners and see what we can work out with them. But the rest of it really looks pretty good. One of the things that I want to remind everybody is that when we have homeowners that are in arrears, it means that you don't have access to the common properties. And that means the pool and the clubhouse. So, you know, we really encourage people to kind of get their dues caught up. The people that are paying the 6 months and 6 months, those are different. Those people don't lose their privileges because they, you know, they're making a payment. They've got a payment schedule. So we're basically talking about the other people. And part of that is it's real hard to budget when we don't know when the money's coming in and all that stuff. So I wanted to point that out on the financial report.
It looks like last year the income was pretty stable. It looks like it almost the same amount came in every 3 months, 93.12. You know, so the income was stable throughout the year. As far as monthly, and I know that you collected a big bill. It was $775. Is that like something out of the house or something?
And the one that we're going to collect next month is $1,700 and something. So, you know, it's really,
That's a project right there.
it is. And that's a homeowner that, you know, really got into some dire straits. And so, she didn't have any intention of not paying. She just ran into some difficulty. And so she's real excited about closing on her house for many reasons too.
Is that the house with the koi ponds? Some realtor was telling me about a house for sale on our side. They had 2 koi ponds, one in the front and one in the back.
I don't know. Is it really?
So is it for sale?
Koi ponds. I did not know that.
You live on this side? Yeah. So it's a big place, but I had never heard of people putting that many koi ponds.
I think there's one in front, one in back.
The other thing I want to draw your attention to, and we'll talk about this in a little bit more with ACC, which is down underneath the reports by committee. The ACC is a covenant-driven thing, and it is in place in writing to protect all of us. You know, again, we all live here together, so the ACC is important because it makes sure that all our roofs match, that people don't put carports up, that they don't go with purple and pink and whatever paint.
Seems the same.
Everything is very similar and cohesive. And when people want to do a project, you know, build a shed. If I want to build, I can't think what I want to build right now. But if I want to build something, I would turn in a request to the ACC to make sure that it matches the covenant and that there's not any problem with it. We had a homeowner last fall that put a pool in, and nobody knew about it until the fence went down. And the big trucks were coming in and out, pouring the concrete. So we ran into an issue because Michael sent that homeowner an email and said, hey, you know, and so the homeowner responded with LOL. Not okay. Because what happened then is when they put the pool in, they ran the risk of flooding their neighbor. You know, I mean, they built the pool right up next to their fence.
Well, they had to, there wasn't any backyard, I thought it was a waste of money to put a pool in that yard.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I don't want to bring up specific names, okay? I mean, some of us, I know, some of us on that
Have they
area.
really finished it? Because it seems like those people are there every couple, 3 weeks doing something.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that it cost us, as neighbors, $2,000 in legal fees for something that was really unnecessary. If you don't go through ACC, you know, if I build something and I don't even ask ACC, I don't run my project by, I don't submit my plans, the board can put a stay on the property and can stop it from continuing. At the time, we thought it was going to be taken care of a lot differently than it was. But, you know, when the ACC asks for more information, we want to make sure and give it to them. Because that was $2,000 of wasted money. And we finally got a release from the ACC committee, finally released the homeowner, so we were able, again, it cost us, I think, $60 more to go ahead and send them a letter saying, thank you, you know, we're good, we're done. So, kind of, you know, we want to always be aware of that. It's not that we need to spy on each other or prevent each other from, you know, there's no point in getting really tacky and hateful and everything. We just all want to live here together.
All the stuff that people need it. Now, when they close on a house, the HOA is very well known that you have an HOA and they have covenants and they have all these things. And even that pool, I know when I took my chance 20 years ago, I was like 20 years ago, I even had to have a permit from the city. So it's not something that you just go and do. And, you know, anyway, there's setbacks, there's easements, it can cause a lot of problems.
And the city does get pretty indignant if they think that you're on one of their easements. So, again, it just prevents a lot of issues if we just all do the covenant together. So, that's kind of my thing about.
Who's on that committee?
Right now, we're going to accept some volunteers. We're going to ask for volunteers here in this meeting, too. But I was on it when I was vice president, and then we had Mike and we had Odessa. But we would really like to get it so that there's people on both sides, you know, and because it is a lot of walking and it's a lot of, you know. It's kind of a neat way to meet your neighbors, actually, you know. That's why I like the pool.
Well, when you run into the people that have the attitude that say it's not your business.
And that's
that's when you spend $2,000.
But
It's
yeah.
sad to have to do that, because we have a lot of other stuff that we need to spend money on and that kind of stuff.
So, does anybody have any questions about anything else on the financial report? Is there anything that catches your eye?
Now, you're saying the CPA does all this stuff,
Yes.
so all the money goes to them and the board tells them what they want to spend money on.
All of our bills, when I check the mail, I take her all bills. And so she pays all the utilities, she does our tax filing, she keeps our books to the penny. She is one of I think she's the best investment we've ever made. She's just diligent.
That's a very good investment, because
Yeah.
then you don't have people accusing you of stealing money and all
Yeah.
kinds of things. Because I ran a property owners association for 10 years down in Salford, and there was always the president of the board taking money, he's doing this, doing that, and you're not there to do that.
No. And we don't want anybody to think that's happening, you know, which is why we do these financial reports. Like I said, this is a 2020. In July, when we have our annual meeting, that will be this last 6 months. That will be from January through June, so that you all will have that too.
And our income isn't gonna change because the houses are all built.
Right.
And we have a maximum of what we can expect every year, so that's what we have to live with.
Right. So really, it just comes out as to how much we end up having to spend. And, you know, we've talked about that before too. The pool and the clubhouse are our biggest expenditures. And
Mike said, I said to fill the pool up with sand.
I know, but then you said you were kidding.
No, I wasn't.
Because
There was only 50 people who used that pool all last summer. My daughter was one of them, and she brought up something that I wanted to, I don't know who does it, but apparently we have homeowners that were checking the pH level and everything, and they weren't charged us, and I think they need to be recognized for that. Because that's not an easy thing to do either. I used to have a pool, I'll never have another one. Who did it?
Mike and I do that. It's 4 times a day, and
Thank you.
we're really impressed, you guys. Our water's beautiful. We have not had any trouble with the health department in 2 years. The bathrooms are Cloroxed every day. I mean, so
You got rid of the dirt by pouring the concrete,
yes,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing about the numbers last year, we were in a pandemic. We were in a pandemic last year.
Oh,
During the
people
summer,
running pools?
yeah, there were
See,
probably.
what was it, 50%? And then we could go up to 75, so we even really had to kind of watch our numbers. So,
Yeah, who had to go over there and count that?
well, we kind of did head checks whenever we came by 4 times a day.
Oh, okay. We
So-
did the levels.
And then some cell monitoring, you know.
Yeah,
People
people did really well, I think.
Didn't want to be in the pool with 200 people.
And I think that just as you know, as much as neighbors, I just think we did a really good job with it.
We did.
So people did kind of wash themselves. And there's expenditures, you know, we're gonna go over a few things that are coming up now that we're gonna have to take care of and address. And some are things that have been approved and we're just now being able to get to the point of being able to do them. So we do have some money that goes out. So is everybody okay with the financial report from, have any questions?
It looks like we were in the negative at the end of the year. $1,990.
She,
Did the bottom line net income?
She
Oh,
gave
is that
me-
for the last?
Yeah.
No, that's total for the year.
that's our income.
Well, that's net income after expenses, which would include projects or anything and stuff, so.
But see, that's why we have dues coming in to cover that too. This was 2020. And so all the dues went out, the notices for the dues went out in November. And is it the end of November, I think they're out?
So we made up the $19,000 the first part of this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, let's look at reports by the committees. Mitch, want to go first?
Sure, why not? Well, I do have some money coming in, $364.12.
What committee are you?
Clubhouse,
Oh. So somebody used it?
yeah,
That's a positive thing.
it is. But we also had an issue with it because it was sublet.
Oh, my God. Property owner.
Yep.
Took advantage of it.
They did, so, they now know they can't sublet it. Now, they could still rent it as long as they are here the entire time. No problem. Problem is she worked and she handed it over to her second in charge and that was illegal. So, don't know if they'll rent it again or not, but they now know they cannot sublet it. So,
When the second in charge wasn't home.
right.
Well, she didn't feel like she was subletting it, but the attorney thought much differently.
So,
So,
Who's our attorney? Who do I sign?
We use Bertram, Tally, and what's the other name? There's 3 of them.
Where I live.
On Main Street?
On the corner?
Huh?
On the corner?
No, in the middle of a block.
Oh.
Bertram, it's CT and B.
Tally's been here.
Tally's first. Tally,
Dick Tally died, but his son Tally is.
Sam Tally,
Yeah.
and then
Tally Turner,
Turner.
Turner Burton.
That's his Turner, Bertram. TT and B.
Anyway, so that's no problem. We are coming up, the room is getting old, the paint is old. This room hasn't been painted in over 10 years since I've been here, and when people have been renting it, they've been hanging, tape and stuff on the wall, so it's starting to peel and so we actually need to go through and repaint, and change the air filter again, which is fine.
He just changed it, right?
Do be done again this month. How is this side of the homeowners association? I know this part was built first, but how many years before?
I have to do 97.
97, so in ours was built in 2000, so.
In fact, I was told my house was the architect's house.
No.
So,
Which one is yours?
that,
My person's
it's over there.
Listen, you have to read it out.
So, anyway, so we're gonna need to paint sometime this summer, and take care of that. I got, we need to put a lock on the back door over here. It needs to be changed so we can actually secure the door and the router. So I gotta go get another lock for that. And probably readjust the 2 bathroom doors because they don't close properly and they latch. So there's some work and maintenance that needs to be done. It's minor, but we still need to get it done. Otherwise, feel free to come up and rent. It's online. Credit card, I think, is $26, something like that.
2602.
It's actually pretty cheap to rent. You have it for 24 hours. From midnight to midnight, and I've got the key. All you have to do is contact me.
And make sure when you sign the rental agreement that you read it. Okay? That would have helped some of the issues that we had last time too. I think it's just real easy to click on. But make sure you read it.
If you rent it online, you don't have to. Just contact me and I can put you in and schedule a
26 if you use a credit card, and it's 30 if you want.
There we go, like that I did.
We are entertaining the thought of raising it a little bit. We're also talking about putting a refundable cash deposit down for cleaning. And the reason it has to be cash is because there's no way that we don't want to get in the business of trying to refund PayPal and debit cards and all that. But we're still going to talk about that because it has to, the rental agreement has to be signed before, and then after I'm through using it, then Mitch or somebody has to come back over here and sign off that everything's clean and in place too. So, but we'll see how that goes. Kind of debating that one. Okay, cool.
Well, the pool is, of course, dormant right now, so we have, it is needing some repairs. We're gonna find someone to fix the water filling system, but we have now leaks, so we're gonna get a plumber to go in there and take care of that. We have, plans to talk to the health department and see if we can get our pool reclassified as a, semi-private instead of public. That will impact how many times we have to test the pool on a daily basis. And then we're looking at replacing the pool furniture and find something sturdier and more attractive.
You know, it shouldn't be a private pool anyway, because it's not open to the public.
It is, and how we got stuck with the public business, I do not know.
The builders.
Yeah.
And the last thing we're looking at is an access control system. We've been talking about that off and on for some time, and I think we're getting ready to make a decision and have that together.
The car thing,
Sorry?
using a car room instead of a key.
Yeah. And that's our pool report for this.
We were able to continue our contract with Lockhart Pool too, and he's invaluable. He comes out twice a week. It was Tuesdays and Fridays?
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Cleans it, is that a good job?
He cleans, he makes sure the pump's working, he makes sure we have chemicals, so that we're not hauling chemicals around. We can call him, because, you know, Mike got onto this a lot faster than I did, but just getting the pH and everything right was real difficult. And the first year that he was with us, the pool had been closed very strangely, and it had copper. We almost didn't get it cleaned. It was the pits, boy. It was black when we took the lid off. So now we're kind of getting the hang of it. But he doesn't charge us. I mean, you can call him and say, hey, you know. And so he's great to work with. Kristen,
I didn't know who's going to do a report.
thought we talked about it.
Okay, for the web page, we've had a website for, a year now, and I think it's a lot nicer than the other one. It's hawthorneplacenorman.com. You're able to schedule the clubhouse, you're able to sign the clubhouse agreement, you can look at all the forms, you can see the Facebook Lives, you can access the past meetings. We're trying to put everything on the website as possible. Also, Facebook, we're trying to do more Facebook Lives with meetings, and it seems like a lot of homeowners have joined our Facebook group.
There's only something like 83 of them there.
Yes, we don't have very many members.
Because, you know, but I think there's some probably people that are elderly and don't use computers very much.
Yes, and we also have an issue. We also need, we're missing 28 emails for houses. We have 28 houses that we don't have email access to give them notifications of meetings or events. So we're going to put together a document to send out and get that information so we can start notifying people.
Which I guess you can go ahead and talk about the homeowners directory.
Oh, yeah, so we were talking about maybe getting to know your neighbors, and if you guys are interested in doing a directory, a neighborhood directory, we can put something together, but I need your information. Only if you want to let others have your information.
So it's entirely up to you. It wouldn't be public. It would just, again, be our
Yes.
group. Sometimes it's nice to have a phone number and say, hey, your dog's out, or what, you know, just whatever. Or did you know your kids running down the street?
Well, just anybody can't join that, even like the Facebook, they have to be approved.
Right.
Yes.
So, kind of let Kristen know if that's something that you'd like to do. ACC, Odessa, I bet Odessa didn't know she was that young.
Well, I don't know, I have to do.
Just real briefly, again, we kind of talked about ACC. AC is kind of a double deal. It's making sure that you put your trash cans up, making sure you don't park in your yard. You know, just the general housekeeping rules for the neighborhood. They're not so different from the city of Norman. You know, there's some things that, for instance, if there's been a car parked in the street for a couple of weeks, we just call the city. We had a truck that was parked for almost a year, and the people that lived across the street from it she was afraid to back out. She thought she was gonna hit it. And they kept thinking that, they kept trying to get the homeowner to move it. And so when the city came and it was gone in a day.
Was it on the driveway?
No, it was on the street.
Oh.
And all they did was pull it up into their driveway. So I don't know what was up with that. But, so we work with the city on things. If you have junk beside your house, like a microwave or, I don't know, remodeling parts, whatever, we have a big trash day coming up. But don't leave stuff out. Is the trash day the end of this month?
24.
24th, okay. But, so, again, kind of be kind to each other and don't just leave junk sitting out until they come. And then the other thing on the ACC is that when you make a request, they look at that and somebody might come and talk to you about it and make sure that, we have the plans right and that we know where you're going with it. So that's basically ACC. It's always pretty quiet over the winter, and then it always starts picking up in the spring because people start wanting to build and do little projects and stuff. Welcoming committee.
I've been with three new neighbors. The people who used to live in Michael Rath's house on Harley. It's a young couple, I think they're living inside. On Glenbrook, there's a single lady, a widow, and she's related to John T. I think she's his sister-in-law, right next to Jillian and Odessa. And across the street here is an older couple, retired couple, friendly and sweet, and I don't know why they're not here. I know that there's a couple of houses, I think, still that are missing. And I'm going to try to stay on top of that. I've been taking plants. And can't do food because of COVID, so plants seem like the safe thing to do. But these are all really nice neighbors, and they're very happy to be here.
And we're really glad they're here too. I get a lot of really positive feedback from people that have looked other places before they decided to come here, and they're really appreciative of the covenant. I had one guy said, I read it twice because I came from an HOA that was just almost unlivable. And he said, I like this covenant, I like these dues, and, and they're young, and so I was like, man, it's good that you're here.
There is another house on Ridgefield at the very end. I believe he works for OU, and I think he's single, but I'm not sure. I'm looking at him. I think you can.
Is that high? Is that the one I'm talking about?
Yes. I wish I'd written their names down so I could
See,
tell you who my new neighbors are. I'm sorry.
I'm bad about names.
I'm retired. I don't even think
Betty's the one next to us, Betty.
Betty, yes.
Betty, she
And-
walks sometimes.
Oh, she likes being able to walk to the park, and she's very happy. She didn't know the pool was right down here, so now she does. Just really, we get some good people here.
You can listen to concerts at 10 o'clock at night.
Or,
At the school.
Oh, yeah, or the football games.
Well, last week I wondered why the lights were still on at day night on the big football field that they don't play football on.
I did hear some music.
No, I don't mind it. It's good. The kids are over there having a good time. I'd rather see them doing that than causing trouble,
Yeah, I know during baseball practice, they'll just have that radio blaring the whole time they're out there practice track or whatever, they'll have that radio on their PA system.
It's a good complex over there. Now they added another building, the building on front of the arts center.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of money in this school system and in this city.
You used to could hear the band play early in the
I
morning.
do
Yeah,
still hear
Okay.
them. Yeah, they're still,
Yeah.
you can tell when they're due at the beginning of the year because there's some sweeping and stuff going on. And then they get to work and they learn songs and that's good.
That's a perk that you get to hear that.
Since I'm the second house on the end, I can hear all that stuff. It's not, it's good. It was there when we bought our house, so.
Yeah, it's good.
Jody, do you have anything?
Just that I need to get, some minutes put on that website, so I know I need to do that. And I looked on my computer, I saved them at one time, and then I deleted them, but I have hard copies, so I think I can make a picture of it, put it in a PDF form, would that work?
Yeah,
Of
that
all
works.
of them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'll just do that, because since I deleted them off the computer.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, the treasurer was the report that I just, we just went over. The vice president and the president are vacant as of right now. We're gonna try and rectify that this evening if we can, which is our next order of business, which is nominations and elections. President, vice president, and treasurer. And the treasurer will be different than what Candace does. The treasurer, Mike and I attended a really neat, what would you call it, workshop, a webinar, done by an HOA attorney, and I learned how much I didn't know, is what I did, but it was really interesting, and he suggests even if you have a company or, CPA, to go ahead and have a treasurer on your board that will get with other board members and go over financial reports on a monthly basis or twice, on every other month. It's just kind of another checks and balance. And that way it's somebody in your neighborhood, they don't have the responsibility for the books per se, and all the money and all that, but it's just another eye to kind of keep everything on the up and up. So, that's, and if we have anybody who would be interested in that person also, as Kristen and I were talking about it this afternoon, might be able to take over the PayPal and all the credit card stuff for the clubhouse. So that Mitch wouldn't have to mess with that on top of the other stuff. He kind of have a buddy too. And it's still finances. So if there's anybody who's interested in checking into that, let us know. Because that's going to be kind of a nice little just position to kind of have information, be able to share information. So do we have any nominations for president and vice president of our HOA?
I would nominate you for president. You're doing a good job so far.
I'll nominate you for vice president.
Do I know you? Yeah. So, Mike nominated me for president. Did I hear?
Second.
We know you were vice president once, and you want to be president, so now you have your chance.
Yeah, thanks. I really, and did I hear somebody do a nomination for vice president?
Yeah, I nominated mine.
Okay, so Johnny nominated Mike for, and Johnny seconded. So, this is fine. Getting a board together, you guys, has been a real struggle. It is, it's a lot of our work, but the volunteers they just haven't been beaten down the door. So, is everybody in favor of the president and the vice president nominations?
So that's you and him? Are you married?
No, that's his wife.
Not together anyway. Oh.
Yeah, we are married.
They're both married, but not together.
I think that's a good suggestion.
So Mike nominated Terry, and who seconded?
Johnny, oh, I don't know.
Okay, you seconded, then you nominated.
Congratulations.
I think that's good.
This is a good nomination, because you have a current idea of what's going on, and that's what you probably do need to get a good president.
Well, thank you. It will require all of us. It really is. This is not a job for one person. It's daunting if it is. So, So again, I really encourage everybody, we have an email, it's the president.hawthorneplacenorman@gmail.com. So if you have suggestions, if you think of anything you want, to bring up at the meetings, make sure that you put your, send in an email, because we check it. Let's talk about the creek for a minute, speaking of unfinished business.
Can we get back to the cities?
I tried. I just had a visit with a man named Hans last week, who basically informed me that had we gone ahead and approved the tax, I'm not saying the words right,
The stormwater
tax thing,
That's-
giving the city permission to raise the water rate as they needed, then he probably could have helped us out. Since that failed, he kind of went from telling me he had 4 crews. By the time we talked more and more and more, he was down to 1 crew, and they're swamped, and it could be, at least a year before he would even entertain the motion of talking to us again. He also informed me that he was part of the talk 10 years ago, and his answer was still the same. We own the creek, not even halfway in the middle. We own the whole creek up to the side where it goes up to the daycare. I asked him what would happen if we did not keep it clean, because I truly believe that is Norman's responsibility. And he said, well, if it floods further on down and somebody wanted to sue you guys, they could.
One crew will come out, but we're gonna charge you.
And I said, and how often does that happen? He goes, well, I don't know that it's happened yet. I said, so what happens to the Myers meat people that own the creek, up to us, from Rock Creek? And I said, because that's really bad. And he said, well, we can't do anything about that either. That's all right. So I said, because everything from there washes down to us. And I did remind him that they did a lot of work on this side of Porter in our private property. And he said, yes, we had to do that for the stormwater. And I said, but that's private property. And he said, but we had to go in there and do that. So it's I don't know if it's political. I don't know if it's people passing it off. But eventually we're going to have to talk. We have not cleaned the creek out for, I think it's 2 or 3 years now. The city came through and did a lot and saved us about $20,000 accidentally, but that's kind of what happened. And so we had to pay for it.
When they cleaned it out, they also took away a lot of the dirt from the trees, the big trees, and that's why they started to fall.
So we will it away then.
Yeah. So we pay, I think it cost us $4,000 to get it cleaned out. We're due again. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a terrible mess now. And we also,
Is that something you want to rent the firehouse? Wasn't my phone, that phone.
we also have a guest down in the creek that Marcia's going to give us a report on.
I guess.
I guess. We have a guest living in our creek.
I live at 200 Richfield. It's in the cul-de-sac, the next street over. And it's where the drain sewers from this neighborhood come down underneath the road. And then everything from here drains in the drain right next to our house. It goes into the creek. The pipe is about halfway up from what the creek bottom normally is. We have beavers. And it's because we've got so many branches that have just accumulated. And I mow behind my fence just to keep things down. And when I went out there last week, I thought some of our small trees, the saplings that we have been watching grow, the red buds and stuff like that, and we're there. And I thought, who's coming through here to cut these down? And when we did a closer examination, we saw there was a little stub, teeth marks on them, and then within a couple of days, because we call it a Harry Potter tree, it's a huge tree with all these weird branches and stuff, it's down, and they have just hooked onto that, and now we've got about 3 or 4 feet of water backed up. But they've also started a little bit further down, and they're starting to do the same thing there. So I also talked to Hans, and he reminded me that it's private property, that it's not the city's. And so he referred me to the state. So I talked to Justin Cooper at the State and Wildlife Services. They're more than happy to help us with the problem. They would come in and clean up the habitat, but it comes at a cost. 3 months would be $2,500, 6 months would be $5,000, 1 year would be $7,500. And what that would entail is them removing the beavers and then monitoring. And he said what they do is they go around and throw their scent, and it's like a party, telling other beavers to come. And so, because I said, well, we used to have skunks, but when they came through and did the sewer, it disrupted their habitat enough. He goes, you can try. Well, the only thing we can try is to trap them. And of course, Dick's like, well, maybe it'll rain hard enough and squash it out of there, but it's pretty good the way they woven all these different branches and stuff into the tree and then over into the bank.
You say the level of the creek is lower than the pipe?
But yes,
So
not
it's
much.
flooding automatically.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. Because when it rains in March, it will actually come up to where our fence is. And that's the embankment, and I don't know, it's probably 7 or 8 feet.
So they're state, and they're still gonna charge us?
Yes, yes. And so, and he said, and the other part you have to do, even if they do that, is we would need to go in and clean up the banks all the way through. Because he said, if you don't, all you're doing is leaving stuff for them just to come back and set up house again. So you have to cut down the trees, clean up the banks, just change the habitat. And I read that worms, and they're supposed to be, and you can put out mothballs and different things like that, but they said a lot of this stuff doesn't work. It just takes somebody knowing how to track them.
And then you get back, you are taking out your trees.
How many beavers are there?
We don't know.
Are-
See, that's the thing, he doesn't know until they actually get into the habitat. Because they're not normally in the dam, they're near the dam that they built.
Are somebody going to track them and get rid of it? It would be like they did in Arkansas one time. They had a whole bunch of beavers over in part of Arkansas, and they had an alligator to kill it. But you know what happened when you bring in a bunch of alligators? They create more alligators.
I don't know, that would use my yard, you're reading my yard.
I wonder if Wild Care in Noble would come and trap them.
I don't know.
Are they a protected species? Do we have to track them?
No, you can't shoot them.
Yeah, they're not.
It's on private property.
They're not protected,
That-
especially if they're.
But they're not protected, but they're doing this. Yeah.
So how does that work then?
That's where the state comes in.
What?
They can remove the habitat. So, I don't know.
I think it has to be a pre-established dam that's created
Yeah.
ecosystem, in other words. So if removing the dam isn't gonna have any adverse effect to the current, situation of the ecosystem over there, it's not a big deal. It seems like they're pretty new, and I don't think it would be a problem.
To shoot.
Because that was my question too, I thought they were protected.
Relocate them, I would,
I mean, we track a lot of storms.
oh yeah.
And took them and.
But I've dealt with beavers out of our property a few times.
Why don't we hire a consultant to come out and say, hey, destroying this dam is going to adversely affect the ecosystem, then let's hunt the beavers and put a 20,000 tannerite in the dam. Problem solved.
My house is like
Let's go to Wild Care in Noble and see what their thoughts are.
This creek is a problem.
This creek is always, it's mess, and it's a problem, and we're never gonna get rid of it, I don't think. Because the next thing we're gonna have to do is clean it out. I mean, that's, again, You sit back there and chuckle.
No, I'm just laughing at the Tanner idea, that's.
Oh.
All right, yeah.
If you got your student goes, just starting a fire. It's a good idea, though. I like that. I like it. I like the idea.
Put a silencer on and hold it up.
Okay.
Well, what are we gonna do about the creek after this?
About the what?
What's the program for the creek? You said we were gonna have to address it.
Let's see what we have to do with these beavers, and then, we're gonna have to clean it out, I think, and I don't know,
Could we make that into the swimming pool?
Let's let them dam it up and just have a pond to swim in.
Plug it up over there and go right in.
hey, we could have fish. We could have a fishing pond.
Make it a koi pond.
Have a big koi pond back there.
You gotta have to wait for those kids to get back into it.
Yeah, instead of climbing over the fence.
Yeah.
I'll never get into it before.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll, is that a plan? We'll see what Wild Care has to say, and then, okay, and that'll kind of tell us what we, you know, because I think it's really probably pretty bad down there after the last storm.
Well, it is. And most homeowners on my side, they don't clean behind their fence. A lot of them just throw stuff over.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just acts.
I wish they would, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, during the ice storm, there's a lot of down glens down there too, so.
Yeah.
Well, then definitely, we don't need to be adding to it with homeowners throwing grass and sticks and everything else over the pit. Should probably actually maybe send a letter out to anyone that owns property that backs up to the creek and make sure that they're not doing that. Because that's gonna be a huge issue.
We've done
Grass
that in the
clippings
past.
is awful with drainage.
We need
They're
to do
awful.
that again. We'll send a letter out.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah. I was gonna tell you too, I forgot to mention, I can't remember where it is on here, but we paid a kind of a hefty amount to take down some trees, to clean up. We had a lot of tree damage on the retention pond and over here. I mean, we actually had to take out some whole trees. So that was part of
the
it.
last storm.
That was part of it too, but I'm not seeing it on here real quick. Okay, so the next thing is sign up for volunteer and advisory panels.
What is that? That's not.
We as a board really like this idea because you don't have to be, you don't have to actually be on a committee. You don't have to, sign your name to stuff. We're looking for other people to help with the pool. The more people that we get to help with the pool, the easier it is for everybody. Right now, Mike and I switch weeks off, and there's somebody over on this side that wants to help, so we're already, if she's going to do it for a week too, we're down to 3 weeks, like every third week. But it's extra eyes. When Marcia's down here, she always cleans out the thingy bobbers.
Filters.
Time isn't those things. And it's true because especially when there's a lot of females in there with long hair, there's a lot of hair in there and there's a lot of bugs. And the bugs seem to excite the little kids a lot. But, I know Mike chased a frog around for about a week that kept, I don't know how he lived, but he kept diving in. So, just people that want to volunteer to kind of sign up to, watch it for a couple of days and help with the bathrooms and all that. So again, these are all things that, you don't have to do it tonight, but we're just asking you to think about it and then email us and let us know if there's something you'd be interested in.
Advisory panels, you only mentioned the pool.
Well, the ACC, we would like to have more people on ACC.
And if somebody on this side would like to read new neighbors, I think it'd be good because we really are kind of we're not two separate communities, but we're divided. And
Okay.
it'd be nice if somebody that lives over here would keep an eye on what houses get a for sale sign and, it's not something I can't handle, and I don't even do it very well, but I think it's nice to greet new neighbors, and I can tell they really like to be noticed, and welcomed.
They always tell me they've met you, which I think that's
It's another
really
way
good.
to make sure that they know what the covenants are too. You know, it's another step of, the neighborhood looks nice and there's a reason we have to keep it up.
So, okay, so someone to help with welcoming, the entrance flower beds, if there's anybody who wants to help with those. Last summer, when I was doing these right here, there was this woman that was, she hadn't lived here very long, but she lived on Halifax, and she's like, I really like to do that kind of stuff, I'll help. I cannot remember that woman. There you are, oh, bless your heart. And I was like, yes, and like I said, I'm horrible with names, and I can't see your fingers, so. But you know, if you would like to help with the flower beds up here, I think that, you know, it's, the more we do, the better it is.
Who does the ones at the entrances?
I have been, and then in Odessa and Joni do too. So last year I was just kind of into planting color, and these did better. These kind of got roasted a little bit. They get such hot sun. So anything that we can do to kind of, you know, and again, it's extra eyes. It's not that much weeding. We have sprinklers, so we don't really even have to water. This we do, but the entrances are all sprinkled. So, and anything else you can think of. You know, if there's something that I didn't bring up that you could think of that you would like to be. Sometimes I know that Mary's talked about just kind of being a think tank. So if things come up that we need to run off, you know, around people, to kind of just talk about it. So that's that. We're still working on concrete bids to get rid of this thing. We have one, but I really would like to present you with more than one, just to make sure that we're covered as far as price.
And what is this for?
It's to pull out this, I have no idea how this concrete retaining wall got there.
Oh.
Because what it does is it shoots water this way instead of letting it flow down, which is, it's supposed to flow back in the backyard. And then the sidewalk, if you've walked over on this side between Todd's house and here, that sidewalk's not getting any better. And then there's,
Trip hazard.
it is a trip hazard. And it's not well lit over there at night either. So that's been on our radar for quite a while now. That one, we gotta get that done. And then we're still messing with the retention pond, the tower retention pond too.
I was wondering if the wall originally was, because the water is well here, isn't there a drain right here for it to flow to? Or is there not a drain?
I don't think there's a drain there.
But there is a drain, but it's, front right here, and it's kind of meant to collect what runs off from the pool.
Well, because, I live right there, we got enough runoff coming at us, and you take that wall off, our whole backyard's going to be even more underwater.
Well, we're trying, it won't go to your yard. Because we have, the other thing that's on here too is the sinkhole behind the clubhouse. We're getting bids on that. We have one bid so far. Because we have some breaks between the sinkhole back to the street. And what Mike's idea was to go ahead and put French drains back in there too, so that it will drain, without.
So it should catch up here and not continue on to our yards that are already flooding.
Yeah.
It's a problem in the whole neighborhood. Everybody's yard is flooded. I've got standing water in my yard almost a week after it rains, and I'm at the beginning of the drainage. I'm at the very, very end of Nathan Drive, at the very beginning. So everyone's yard is meant to hold.
Yeah.
It's
We all,
awful.
I have put in French drains and it's still,
Mine does that too, and I live next door to Mary, and they spend a fortune on drains, because when they bought their house, it was not disclosed to them that they will have 2 feet of water in their backyard sometimes. And so the builder did not do any of this right. And
Year round, we had the big fight with Poppy Grove before it was built. You know how much higher their level of dirt is over there? And all of our yards on that side of the street flood.
Yes.
Because we get all the runoff. And one of my neighbors, because we had a neighbor at the meeting with that, you know, he put some kind of balloon thing back there and it just, you know where the house is that has the person that's disabled that has a van in the driveway? For years I watched water just pour down into the streets from there, between their houses. This guy used some kind of thing I've never heard of before. He said it balloons up and catches the water and then releases it slow. I'm gonna have to go check with him to see what it is, because maybe it's a neat thing that we can use individually, because it's not an expensive thing. But it solves the problem with their water rush between their houses, because we get all the runoff. And don't bring up about how they built their own fence 2 feet back from ours.
Okay, we won't. So, you know, again, if there's anything that you guys would like to volunteer for, please let us know. Because we really, Michael had this thing, and I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but something about an investment in us is an investment in the community or something, but, you know, some of those little things. But anyway, it really is, it's just important. The more that we do together, it makes it easier for everybody, and it just binds us better, because we have to be, it's better than it was, but when I first moved here, these were like totally separate. There was no communication between the two. It was like we weren't even part of each other, you know? So
I'm confused. It says concrete, and then sinkhole. Is the concrete here and the sinkhole behind the clubhouse, both of them?
the sinkhole's right here.
So what did you need a bid for, somebody to fill it out?
No, we filled it up. Oh, yes, it's filled it up. We filled it up. It's broken.
Well, what's going on right now is from the clean out over to the riser for the sewer, there's actually 2 breaks in our main sewer line in the back, and that's where that one is mainly coming from, because it's actually broken on the riser coming up from the main sewer.
So it's our sewer line.
Yeah, it's ours. It's from the clubhouse.
So the best thing to do is replace the sewer line.
Just reduce the sewer line. Yep, and then that will take care of the sinkhole. It will at least stop it from eroding down into the riser, so.
We transfer.
Yeah.
It will keep Odessa and Joni from breaking their legs when they fall in. The other thing is sometimes when people rent the clubhouse for parties, they'll put bouncies out there. And the last time that we did that, I stuck something in front of it and over it, because I was really afraid some little kid was going to fall right in there.
How
So
deep is it?
it's pretty good size. It's I mean, you can put your arms all the way down in there, and it goes. It's like kind of reminds me of, I don't know, it's like a little rabbit's den or something. You put your arms. It's deep.
We have rabbits.
I haven't.
I think everybody's.
We're also ready to go in with the cameras for the clubhouse. We're going to go with wired instead of wireless, which is good since we already have the router and everything in place. And we're going to go ahead and get a system that will allow us to cover this and the pool and the backside of this clubhouse.
Are ones cheaper? Is it cheaper to use wired?
I don't know that it's cheaper. We're going to have to pay regardless. We're going to have to run a cable or the wire.
So you'll probably do it with the same people that have the router.
They have what?
Who do you have to pay to do it? The people that install the cameras?
But I'm going to look at cameras. They're called the ones that, I can't remember, White Owl or something is what somebody told me that
So
they
you're
were
going to put
using.
one that's going to monitor the pool?
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Yes. We are. And the backside of the pool, because I don't know how many of you remember, but last year we had some kids get into these people's yard right here and take a ladder out of the back of their yard, prop it up against the pump house, and So I said, what kid does that? And he goes, I would have. You know, he goes, when I was a kid, I would have not even thought twice.
That thing right into the pool.
And there's 3 feet of water on that end. So we're not gonna, we don't want that, you know. And by getting wired, we can also check it in real time, and it'll keep a week's supply, a week amount of data at any point in time. We don't have to pay anybody to monitor it. We can monitor ourselves. And that really, good.
You really only need it one season. You don't really need it all year long, do you?
Well, we don't have to pay to monitor it though. So once they put the cameras up, they're up.
But you're paying a monthly fee for just a summer kind of thing?
They pay a monthly fee.
We pay for the internet, yes. But with the monitoring, we don't.
We'll buy the system and.
What I'm saying is, other than the cool time of year, has there been problems, is what I'm saying, for you to have a camera all year?
Yes.
Yeah, we've had vandalism here quite a bit.
Okay.
Spray painting,
Alcohol.
building, the fence, we have truant living here on the porch.
I'm just curious, I didn't know.
And they've been,
Crazy.
there's somebody who's really nice and leaves us alcohol on the back of the fireplace here. And there was actually somebody that was sleeping in this little area right here. So we just need to keep our eyes on things, I think. And that it'll tie in with the access control system too.
Shop around for different kinds of cameras. I use hollow cameras at my house for 10 years now.
Have you?
They're wireless, and I can watch them from when I'm over in Europe or anywhere, just getting on the internet.
Yeah.
And I don't pay any fee. And they're good little cameras.
Well, that's what we want. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the furniture. We also talked about, at one time, about putting picnic tables back behind the pool. And until we can figure out why that thing is wet all the time, we kind of came up with an alternate plan and maybe put picnic tables, a picnic table or something here. We're not supposed to have food per se in the pool area. It's a health department thing. And so, although people bring pizza or people, but maybe people would like to have a picnic. It's kind of, we do have to get furniture because we actually had somebody fall out of one of those little chairs last summer. And the gentleman that lives right here cornered me one day and asked me if he could bring his own chair because he was afraid of those. And I get it, I'm not a small person, and I would be worried about falling out of one of those chairs if you don't plant it just right, those little plastic ones. So
Other than plastic is what you're saying, we're doing some better quality?
Yes, we're going to get the heavy, part of the Adirondack chairs so that they can't tip and they won't blow over in the wind, John, pool pavilions and the shed behind the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Are you? The shed's kind of iffy at this point.
Yeah.
But we talked to John last year about pavilions.
Yeah.
That's why we did this ad here.
Yeah, the pergolas.
Pergolas,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So it had been approved already, but now it's kind of more in the works of being built. So we're gonna definitely get those up before this pool season. Pergolas in the pool area. Because everyone huddles like quail underneath that little bitty structure over there trying to get some shade, so.
Well, does the pergola give you shade?
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought they didn't have roofs on.
It will not have a roof. It won't have an actual solid roof protecting you from the
shade
wind.
to be on the sides.
Excuse me?
I don't understand how you get shade out of it all.
With wood covering the top, it's not gonna be a complete full.
Oh, so there's cross pieces.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, and it'll be roughly a 50% shaded top, which, it'll be at least 10 degrees cooler underneath it, so.
Have you ever seen the playground that is over by the pond? And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
covering that's almost like a sail or something?
Yeah, and that's another thing that I was thinking about, so when we do design them, the 6x6 posts will go up high enough to where if we wanted to, and this is something I was actually going to say something to you about, that if we wanted to, we could mount those anchors on top of the 6x6 posts and have a complete shade covering right over the top.
And you put corrugated plastic sections together, and you get shade through there, and you get catching, you have roof, and you won't turn purple.
Yeah, yeah, there's tons of options that we can do. It's one of those things.
Improvement last year's budget, and it's still going over.
Yeah, and another thing that was, the city with it being public and everything else, that's where you get into kind of a gray area with actually putting a solid roof cover on a structure. So it would not be a pergola anymore, technically. So that's another thing we have to kind of watch out for.
We went over picnic tables, and I think I got lost. I don't think you could have picnic tables inside the pool area.
No.
Outside.
Outside.
Because of the rule that you can't eat in there to begin with, they're just going to promote it. Now, I know people order pizzas, but then they clean up their mess and put it in the trash. It's not like they're just at the picnic table.
No, we were talking about outside.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing, go ahead and talk, we're saving about $3,000 by splitting them up.
Yeah.
Because the city, go ahead with the city.
Well, again, the city is, if we can split them up to where there's basically two structures instead of one huge gigantic thing, it would have to be fully engineered. And it would have to be, it would have to be passed through two different engineering companies to get approved and passed, and then that would be all on us.
$3,000.
Yeah, it'd be close to $4,000.
Oh,
So I told the story about me asking about Hampton Avenue. I took the results of that study,
Oh, yeah.
It's always an excuse. We don't
Always
have
an
the money.
excuse.
Yep, yep.
It's not in our budget.
Yeah, the city is,
And we're not on the list this year. We didn't meet the 62% to get our road fixed.
Well,
that's also partly
on
from the
the
speed
middle of
bumps.
the road, I sent an email to Elizabeth Foreman, who is our council member, because down on my cul-de-sac, I've got all those bare parts where the rocks come out of the pavement. And there's constantly sand and all this other stuff, and I said, if you're passing this on, and you're having the same guys do the road work that did ours, you're losing money. And
Well-
we've got cracks already, and.
The problem with it is they use that recycled asphalt that they buy from Silver, because whether it's Star Construction and more. And they even admitted to me, because I got down at the Y Breeze place, got repainted over there, and it's a newer subdivision than ours, and I said, let me guess, the builder used reconstituted asphalt instead of fresh asphalt, so it wears out quicker. The stuff on Hamden, it apparently was real asphalt, because it's held up, that's 20-some years old, all this stuff, if they
Oh, yeah, I mean, we had one crack down there on cul-de-sac.
But now that we mention that, what's gonna happen now is that asphalt has come away from the curbing, and it's just gonna keep eroding and eroding and eroding. And they don't have any budget for tar. But they sure want to open up the fence.
I have a little bit of show and tell if anybody's interested. Odessa had a really good idea about kind of keeping a picture diary of the things that we do. Because a lot of times we fix them, and then we don't even show for it. So up here is, and we can pass them around and you can come look. This is what the pool looked like before we did the pad. Okay? And these are the flower beds that we just put in up front. These are easy. The one that is really going to be awesome, and our pool guy is going to faint when he sees it because he's going to think that he's in the wrong place. This is our pump house.
Is that an building?
This is mold.
Old building.
Where?
Our pump house over here.
Oh, the pump house.
That's the
I
pump
like
house.
that. Wow.
Isn't that gross? And John and Mike and I were reading that.
Isn't that the way it is now?
No, these are the doors that were on the inside of the pump house in the chemical room.
So now, we have, let's see where my other pictures in here.
Those are good things to show people where the money's spent.
Yep, these are the walls now. Oh, these are the walls now. And he's actually even, when I went in there and I looked and I went, man, the light switches look god awful. So he's even replacing those.
Yeah.
But look at the difference.
Yeah.
Look at the difference.
It was a full, I think it was a full removal and replacement of all the drywall.
She had to take all of the stuff behind it.
Yeah, I pulled it all
Where the
Oh,
stuff was
what a
rotted.
good mess.
off. Yeah, everything behind there, it was all superficial mildew and mold and everything.
It would be nasty.
Well, and then it really didn't have proper ventilation, because you know that chlorine gas goes from bottom up.
Yeah.
And the only ventilation it had was over 6 feet high, that one vent in the door, so everything in there was just trash. It had exposed, metal, so there's vents top and bottom now on both doors, so they can get active, passive airflow, so.
No more corrosion.
Yeah, it still stinks when you walk in there, it still gets you in the nose pretty good, so. It helped.
It's built.
Hopefully it's solved.
It did.
We found the builder's rate was built. It was very fast.
Oh, yeah.
Along with being able to keep our pool contract, we were also able to keep our contract with Mother Earth. So we're real fortunate there because that was approved last year and we were able to just continue it as a 2-year deal. We also ended up going with Turf Science for the pre-emergent and the fertilizer and all that.
Where are you at?
Hmm?
Where are you at?
I am down here at Gong here, almost to the bottom of here.
What is access control systems? Did I miss something?
Those are going to be the cards or the key fobs for the
Oh,
pool.
okay.
That we did that with the cameras. I might have lost over it.
Can I ask a question since we're right here, I missed it? You talk about all the pavilion, but what were you saying about shed? There's gonna be shed, or you're gonna, what was the deal about the shed? I didn't understand.
Well, the shed is kind of on hold because I need to figure out, I really need to know kind of square footage what we need, because that's gonna be something that we will get approved through the city and everything else.
And this has to be fixed first.
It'll be technically an actual structure, but yeah, we'll have to get, because the new sewer line is gonna go right through where we're thinking about putting it. We need to get all this all taken
What are you
care
gonna put
of.
in the
But
shed?
that's what I was talking about.
These tables and chairs.
For these table and chairs, and when we do get the new pool chairs and everything, they won't just be sitting on all,
Oh,
yeah.
Because right now, all of our stuff is just sitting up there. So maybe help protect some stuff, maybe get some, this closet is jam-packed full of stuff, so.
This was
maybe
another
just-
budget item from last year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
What was the price on that?
I can't remember.
Was
Well,
that-
it depends on the size,
Yeah.
number one.
None of that has actually even gone through
Yeah.
an estimation yet, so.
So is it gonna be poured on concrete, or is it gonna be sitting up off the ground?
It's probably gonna be a pole barn style, it's gonna be sitting off the ground.
You know, when they built mine, they used those 6-inch aluminum big things and set those on the ground, and
Mhm.
built the floor on top of that, so I don't have to worry about rock, from the, sitting on the ground.
Yeah, when I do it, I won't put any wood into the ground. It'll be cement piers and then post bases to
Are
keep
you
the
a
wood.
contractor?
Yes.
Just for this subdivision, or?
No, for a living, it's a.
Actually, yes, he is our private personal.
Pretty busy.
Very busy.
Do you give a homeowners association rate?
Yes, I have. And I've been getting deals. Because I don't have to drive far.
As long as you don't help him, he won't charge us nothing.
Yeah, you saw me fix some sprinklers up there and stuff.
But this way, when you rent the clubhouse, you'll also get this room. Because a lot of times what people do is they'll set up their food in one room or the other room, so they pull everything out. And those tables are heavy. So this way, it'll be open and then you can just bring in what you want.
Well, it's outside too, just like you said, putting those chairs up there in the winter. they'll be out of sight, so they're, the vandalism and stuff. I'm looking at that wall out there, you know, when the painting's done, I think this stuff needs to be looked at, because that thing looks like it's pretty, you know, see the wall that's crooked over there? I think you need to look at all these stuff, maybe a contractor that's building all this stuff. Oh, I mean, look at that one too, oh, but maybe they're 20-some years old. They even have ground wires on it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna start digging a little more.
Going back to church signs. Church signs is going to, we had to do the perimeter, and the perimeter it was kind of pricey, it was $265. They put, an acre of chemicals out. He said he put, it takes him 13 to 17 gallons to do 5,000 square feet. He did 105 gallons.
You talking about the people that sprayed our entrances?
Yes, he did all, the whole thing.
What whole thing?
Our, you know, what faces Porter up to the creek, and then what starts at our fencing.
Oh,
and goes
outside
back.
the fence between the sidewalk and the, okay.
And then he, of course, did this. So, in talking with Odessa about how often she thought we should do that, because that's kind of a sizable amount, she thought probably spring and fall would cover. But then he's going to go ahead and fertilize and do weed control at the clubhouse and the pool every 6 to 8 weeks. So, that's kind of what we have set up as far as the lawn and then the lawn care.
And just to say that there is absolutely no license needed for granular. So if we wanted to do a midsummer fertilization on our own, all we have to do is buy it and spread it. We don't need to pay anyone to do any of that. So I will do it. So.
And I've noticed, I come in there up here on the tower, off the Rock Creek. The entrances are really good. I go by there and then the desk out there, they're looking like a place.
No, it was Karen, he opened my.
Oh.
I just trimmed bushes this
You know,
time.
there's some woman that walks over there, you know, she's got a black pickup truck. Unloads the mower off the back and goes down some ramps and runs away from her. And, oh, hi, how are you doing? But she does a good job.
That's okay, it's different, you used to use a Mercedes.
I know.
That's very true.
You talk about knowing neighbors, she's mowing their lawn now, but the two kids that live to the south of me, he's in college at OU, she works for Boeing from home, but she's got pregnant now, and he's also in the air guard or whatever it is, but they're shipping him over to the Middle East in a week or so, I think it is, isn't it? He's not even here when his baby's born, and I told him, if she needs anything, just call her, you know, because we're right next door on our college in the city, but something might happen there that's too long to get there. And so, you know, if you see something, it's another thing to think about, because we all drive right by it when we leave our property, at least people that live over here. And she started mowing their yards now because she knows he's going to be gone also. And I like to walk out, you know, because there could be theft, there could be anything. And he's getting his master's degree. I'm pretty pumped about these kids that do stuff like that.
Which kind of brings us to the last but not least, which is community events. I was going to ask you. Darla called me today. I'm sure all of you know that Dennis Stewart passed a few months ago, who was a longtime member of our community. And then this week, Darla called me, and I can't remember what his first name.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Was it
Donovan
Moses? Moses.
Yes.
He's your next door neighbor.
Had a blind Christmas.
So we can go tomorrow.
So when you hear of events, you know, happy events, sad events, go ahead and make sure that we know, because I like to send cards. I mean, I know it's, you know, it's not much, but I really think it's important, again, to kind of recognize all the events that happen.
What do we do about our neighbors that don't like mowing their yards?
Well, that's an ACC thing. So if you've got people, that I think it's, what is it, 12 inches according to the city. Do I?
Here we go.
Give them a go.
We can have neighborhood goats.
Were you gonna say something?
Can I bring up something in new business?
Yes.
Is that all right? It's not listed, but my husband and I brought it up 2 years ago, and we pretty much bring it up every time we come. It's about the fencing on, Porter and the fencing on Rock Creek. And as, we stated 2 years ago, we did not want to look like the neighborhood across the street over here on the corner, where individual homeowners began, their fences all starts to rot around the same period of time that they were put in around the same time. And then they put in what they want, you know, and it doesn't look very good. If you drive over here, it looks terrible across the street. So we had said, you know, we live at Sutton Place, and our backyard was Porter, and in Sutton Place, Sutton does take care of the fencing, okay? So we didn't have to pay for our back fence when we lived there. But what we were saying when we brought up the subject is, we don't want it to start happening, and it's already happened. There's already one little piece of section that's happened, and I'm just telling you, it's going to start looking bad because it's all probably about 20 years old. And so we wanted to bring it up 2 years ago. It's like fences, if you take care of them, they will last, you know, quite a while. And you might only have to do it once. And we talked about different options of association. One, paying for it, or two, having have, you know, the homeowner and well, I mean, however it needs to be done. We need to address this because it's going to start looking terrible when people start putting what they want, and not that they don't go by the bylaws and put, you know, plastic up. But what I'm saying is, it's not going to look uniform. If you look right around anywhere that has homes in this price range and this nice of a neighborhood, and we keep our pool areas and everything that nice, the fencing should look as nice and all, you know, as you drive in, and our home values should stay the same.
The housing district, two housing districts west of us on Rock Creek Road, 2 years ago, put up a fencing. Most of you gone by. They have nice fencing, they have stone posts, and they have rails on the top, all the way across. That whole housing district looks the same. And I agree with her. Not just on Porter, but on Rock Creek too.
Well, yeah, I don't mean
You got somewhere, you place some pieces, and there's another whole one place, and then you replace pieces. And it looks terrible. And it's terrible.
And I said, you know, we're talking about building the stuff you're talking about, the shed and the wood things in the pool. I said, you've got problems with fencing we're going to have to deal with. And I said, can't we get an estimate on what it would cost?
We have. This has been brought up multiple times, not just 2 years ago. Michael actually got an estimate. It's very hefty. And one of the things that is a concern is that it would have to be voted on by everybody because it does involve the HOA paying for someone's back fence. So everybody would have to approve it. And if everybody didn't approve it, then it couldn't happen. But no, I remember this has been brought up, I know 4 or 5 years. Every year.
But the thing about it is, it's going to be, we can fight all day about who's going to.
Oh, I know.
But it needs to be done.
Well, but it's not, it might or might not be done, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, but we're spending money on other stuff.
Everybody has to agree because that is a benefit to an individual homeowner.
Yeah, so let's start with those homeowners.
Everybody in the whole 149 houses has to agree.
Let's start it.
Well, we talked about doing that too, so, but yes, there is an estimate out. It was like $25,000, and that was without the brick stuff.
That's not even close right now.
Yeah, and that right now,
So
it's,
2 years ago, it's gonna be at least another 2, at least. And if you want a top rail with, skirt and all that like that, that's
We
like
don't have to have
$3.
a voting with, as long as you just have a uniform at this point.
I hear what you're saying, I mean, I know, we've talked about it and talked about it, but if everybody does not agree in all 149 houses, and there are just as many people, and we can pull the minutes up, there are just as many people who are unhappy that the people in the perimeter would get their back fence paid for, and they have to pay for theirs.
Let's go to those people and say, would you be willing to pay half?
That puts us in the responsibility of collecting the money.
The two kids I just told you about, I told them about this, they said, we'll just pay for it ourselves.
And then you've also got people that let bushes grow over their fence and vines grow over their fence and just completely demolish their fence and they don't fix it.
Yeah.
I
And
know
it's the
over
same
on
thing. It's their fence.
Why would someone want to pay half if they, I don't understand, if somebody wants to pay half?
Because that means the HOA owns half of it. And that means that we have to collect the half. Then it also puts us in the position of making sure it's maintained. Because we don't have
I have a question. Are the fences on the property line or inside the property line?
I imagine they're on the property line.
If they're on the property line.
Because that's what the mortgage
And we
company
also have a little bit
requires.
of an ownership in it.
If they're on the property line, what?
We have a little bit of an ownership in it.
Who
You
does?
put a fence,
Why?
the association does. You
Why?
put a fence in, it has to be inside the property line for it to be yours, and you're totally responsible for it. But if it's on the property line, the common owners, which in this case would be the people in the house, and the homeowner association, they have joint responsibility, joint ownership of it.
I'll tell you what, before the next meeting, I will pull up all the minutes where this has been discussed. Okay? And it's been discussed multiple times. And then we came up with a plan, and the people, again, it was sharply, more people said no than people said yes.
Okay, well, that was how long ago? Let's take note.
That was last year, year before. And we can't just keep doing it over and over and over. And so that was Michael's deal, was that he got the estimate, we presented it, and in his mind's eye, it was done.
So was anything discussed like you just brought up, that it is on the property line? So it could be our responsibility.
It's not. It's not. We cannot require anything except what's in the covenant. But I will be more than happy to I'll bring up every place that we talked about it. I'll find his estimate that he got, and then we'll get a current estimate, and then we can see if we even want to do, get 149 votes in there, because that's what happened last time, was that there were a higher percentage of people who said no.
Can we change that where we have a majority, not a full, what I'm saying is, you're gonna get people that put the points, people that do this, people that stain, it's not gonna look good.
Well, I think where the ACC probably ought to step in and say, if you're replacing it, it has to be 6-inch cedar picket, 6 foot tall.
And then some of them, they're uniform.
But see, we're limited as to what we can legally require. ACC can say, you have to follow the covenant. You have to have dog ears, or you have to have picket, or you have to have whatever.
You're taking these fences, and if your neighbor's in dire straits, they can't afford to have a fence line, you want it all done at once, you're forcing someone to pay a couple $1,000 for a fence they can't afford either.
Yeah.
So that's also.
Or the homeowner would have to pay for it.
Yeah,
Which is where people are saying, I'm not paying for their fence. But again, before our next meeting, I will pull up all that stuff. I'll find it all, because I know where the estimate is for the fencing, and I'll see what it would cost to upgrade it, to get it current, and I'll look back through all the minutes and bring up what we all decided and discussed and all that, okay?
Well, just work on the estimate, because we know there's gonna be people that aren't gonna be in favor of it. But it needs to be addressed instead of just put back on.
It has been addressed, that's what I'm saying, it's been addressed. And it was put to rest.
Oh, because they wouldn't.
They wouldn't go for it, and so Michael said, okay, this is it, it's done.
Michael Rapp put it to rest, I heard on the news that he said.
So, it's in the notes that it's a done deal, but I'll go ahead
I never got
and,
asked, no one came to my house and asked me if know,
Well,
I've been here
I was
for years.
at a meeting when we put it to rest.
I know that I've never been, you say people were asked, I've never been asked.
well, we had a vote one time,
We actually voted.
and
We
they
actually voted.
I must have missed the meeting.
But I mean, we voted at a meeting.
I know, but if you really want the 3% and 100%, you need to take it to all the homes and everybody has to opportunity. Not everybody comes to me.
Well, okay, we can either stick with what we did, which put it to rest. In a general community meeting, it was voted on and put down. It was done.
Yeah.
And, or, I can pull everything out, but we cannot keep just hashing it over and over and over.
How about if you put
We have to
something
move
out?
forward on it. And that's kind of what happened last time, because it's been brought up so many times.
Yeah.
People were like, I'm just done with this. I'm not paying for
You
it.
come to the meeting and only a few tabled it or shut it down. You haven't gone around and asked everyone.
Okay, but what I'm saying is,
100%, but there was almost 50 people. There was a ton.
Yeah.
There was standing.
people were not happy at that meeting.
About what? About not having?
You're not the one, they don't really want to address or anything or what's going to happen here.
Well, no, darling, what I'm saying is it's already been dealt with. And that was a standing room only meeting. And people were really angry that they were gonna be forced to pay for someone else's fence. And and again, I think Johnny said people that don't have the money to fix their fence, we were requiring them to do it.
It's gonna look like crap, and you won't get what you wanted out of it when you sell it.
Well, and we talked,
You can see the houses that don't, the neighbors that don't do it, versus the ones that do it, it's amazingly different.
we've even talked to realtors to see how much difference that actually would make. And they said that was not a selling point.
Looks nicer than expected.
It's not even, when people look for a house, that's not what they look for. So,
Well, but they do drive by and they look and they see, look at this subdivision, all the fences falling down, and they want us to buy a house here.
I know, but I'm just telling you, we even talked to realtors about it. So
So when the
anyway,
fence falls down, then what are we gonna do?
well,
Because
by the
it's falling.
covenant, we can have them, the homeowner, put it back up.
Oh, so there is a rule.
There's a covenant that says that all the fences need to be similar. That doesn't mean that the HOA can pay for it. And that's what's gonna happen.
It says they have to be similar, but
Similar. I can't remember the exact verbiage. I can't remember what the exact verbiage is. So don't quote me on that because I don't know. But anyway, it's 8:30 and I was really trying to hold this to an hour. Is there anybody that wants to bring anything else up that we didn't cover? Oh, the
When does the
pool.
pool open?
Somebody asked this on the video. The pool's gonna open up, Memorial Day weekend. And COVID aside and everything else, it seems to zap that pool. Like I said, the year before it was copper, then this year it was COVID. So we're still gonna aim for, Memorial Day weekend,
good.
which will be that Friday.
Well, you've done a lot of repairs to that pool in the last 2 years, it's made it a lot better. But I still say you should fill out go on.
The chicken.
Oh, as if we want to do the covenant, so let's wait. Okay, anything else? Anybody? Let us know what Wildcare says.
Yeah, I will.
And if there's any of the volunteers, any of those positions sound interesting to you, just
Yes.
let us know. If you have any questions, the people that are like with the clubhouse and with the pool and ACC can just get with you and answer any of your questions too. Okay?
Brandon Cook says, are we friendly with the Highland Village HOA? Would it be possible to bring up speeding down Hamden with them? It seems like people just fly down the street.
And they do.
Yes.
And the city nailed us on those speed bumps.
Yes.
They have no intention of fixing them. They are done incorrectly. I fought with them, Kristen fought with them, and they basically kind of told us just to go away and be quiet.
Yeah, because Silver Star said we're done with the city in Marmon. They came and tried to fix it 3 times, and the city inspectors came out because I watched them. They had these kids that, I swear to God, didn't know how to use the transit, and they were out there measuring the thickness, and then they decided they needed to lower them so that the Silver Star comes in.
They redid it.
They redid it.
And it was too low, and so then Silver Star comes out and finally Silver Star says, fine.
Yeah, they never
And actually, the people that were doing it told me it was done incorrectly. They
The
were
Silver Star told me.
Yeah, they were the ones that were holding it up. It was the people above the city, not the actual city people who were working on it. It was the people above them that they were basically told.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, anybody second it?
We never approved the
All right.
minutes from the last
Thank
meeting.
you all.